Hello, everyone. Welcome to our new series happening during the month of July called Summer Music Motivation. Each week, we'll have a different guest speaker who will share what they've been up to this summer and how they are staying motivated. So today's guest is the incredible Amy K Bormet, who is a pianist, vocalist, composer based in Washington, D.C., and she also started the annual Washington Women in Jazz Festivals. So welcome, Amy. Tell us more about who Amy is.
Oh, that's a lot of things. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff. I'm a chronic overworker, so that's my number one problem. But yeah, as you said, I'm a performer. I have been picking up the guitar lately, which is really fun. But mostly piano and singing and some really mediocre accordion playing. And yeah, and I started a record label a few years back, 2 years back with my husband. And so now we just put out I think we're on our fifth, sixth, something like that. I should probably know that. It's all messed up with COVID. We just had a record release for a record we put out in April because the artist got COVID. So it's been crazy. So that's Strange Woman Records. And then I just put a record out, a solo record that I made, singing and playing, and I recorded it live. So I'm going to put out during the summer, put out little videos. So every track on the record will have a video out, and then I'll start streaming it. So I'm just selling it through the website now. And then other than that, I live in DC. I love DC. I'm really active here in so many places and so many spaces, and trying to support the DC arts community, and working on housing costs with the artists in DC, and advocating for more grants and more funding and more equity in those things here in the district. So yeah.
So awesome. And another super cool thing is your Washington Women in Jazz Festival. I'd love it if you could talk more about that. And then also this record company, this record label that you just started. What were your
Yes.
inspirations and motivations behind starting those two really awesome initiatives?
Sure. Washington Women in Jazz, I started in 2011. So we just did our 12th festival this year. I'm really glad that we went back to in-person things, although we did do some stuff online too, but it's nice to be with people again. And yeah, so we've been, when we started, it was uh, mainly because I was trying to sell myself to get into different festivals, and I didn't see a lot of women on festivals, especially women instrumentalists. um and I remember I tried, for example, I tried to get in the DC Jazz Festival, and I had just done 2 residencies and finished grad school. I did 2 residencies at the Kennedy Center and finished grad school at Howard University, and I was like, oh, I know everybody in DC, and like this is going to be a win for me. Like I really just want to be on the DC Jazz Festival. I just recorded my first record with with some great musicians, and it's like, oh, this is gonna, naively I was like, oh, no problem, like, okay, I got it, like this is the gig for me, and people love me here, and I draw a lot of people in DC. And I couldn't get a gig on the festival, and then I looked, and there was like really no women on the festival at all, and really a couple of singers, and that was it. And so I was like, oh, okay. And then yeah, I had been meeting a lot of women musicians, and I didn't know about them when I was, kind of growing up here, and I hadn't really, like, it was sort of on the periphery of people who were getting attention in DC. So I wanted to get attention for those women musicians, but I also wanted to play with them myself. So I was like, well, this is perfect. This is a great opportunity for me to create something that puts together a lot of inspiration and motivation for people to come out and support directly what type of music we're doing, and also to do something different. A lot of people have a lot of different bands and a lot of different genres, a lot of different styles, and so it's really fun to just like come together and with people who you don't normally play with, or people who might play a totally different style, and like plan a show together and see what happens, to make those collaborations between women musicians has been really, really rewarding. And now we've moved into the space of creating those types of situations internationally, and creating Washington Women in Jazz exchanges, and having concerts at embassies, and getting different types of support. I just had a wonderful saxophonist from Uruguay come and perform the first time she'd been to DC.
Wow.
And so it's just been really, really delightful, and something that has changed the trajectory of what I thought my career would be, in an extremely positive way. So
Yeah, that's so incredible. And we've been lucky enough to get to meet you over at Kiev She and
yes,
our first conference back in 2019, and it's just been so awesome to stay connected with you through these past few years and
yes.
evolution of Amy and all the other cool things that you're doing.
Well, thanks, and I'm so glad you could host our showcase that we had for college women online last year. We made it happen. That thing was popping.
That was so much fun. Everyone, go check that out. And your Strange Women records. Could you tell us a little bit more about
Yes.
which is also really
Um, yeah. So before I moved back to DC a couple of years ago, I was living in LA for 5 years, and was doing like kind of spinning around a lot of things, doing production work, and doing a lot of arranging and co-writing and just writing in general, and performing and recording, and really getting heavily into the recording industry and understanding like what are the different aspects, what are the different parts of putting a recording together,
Mhm.
and doing a lot of recording for myself, and saving all my pennies, and trying to do what I need to do to get my music recorded. So yeah, I had been on some other labels, and it was okay. The experiences were okay, but they weren't, to me it felt like right now, if you're doing all the work of an independent musician, you can probably do it yourself. So so my husband and I started Strange Women Records in 2019. We both had done a lot of recording in LA. He's a guitarist, Matt Dievendorf, and um he put a record out, and he was the very first record we put out, and I'm playing piano on it, and I wrote a song for it. But then we put out a series of records 2019, and then going to 2020, we had, we were recording in February 2020, and then of course we kind of got shut down. So so we're just starting to kick back up again, and put these records out. It's been really fun, and I think um he, in addition to being a great musician, is also an engineer, and I obviously do a lot of promoting work, that I've tried to figure it out by just clawing my way through it with Washington Women in Jazz. And so we're having a really great time, creating some really cool projects, and being able to support some different musicians. And for me, it's especially important to be able to have recordings with women musicians available. So I've been, making that also something that's at the front of the production too.
That's so awesome. And with all
Yeah.
these projects and initiatives that you have going on, going back to our theme about our summer music motivation, how do you stay motivated to continue to lead these projects and musically and otherwise, if there are other things that are in your life that you need to find motivation to do, especially during the summer, it's hot, it's nice out. How
Yes.
how do you do it? How do you stay motivated?
Wow. I think summer for me, honestly, is one of the easiest times to stay motivated to practice, because I'm so busy during the year, and I'm traveling a lot during the year. And every summer I like to be in DC and be a part of the Washington Jazz Arts Institute, which is this amazing summer youth employment program here in DC. And um, it's, basically all ages like 14 to 24. These students come, and we work with them, and it's something that I did when I was a teenager. So it like feels very, it's a lot of Duke Ellington School of the Arts, which is where I went to school. A lot of Duke Ellington School of the Arts students, but also DC musicians, DC musicians and students. And so we have like everybody, singers and percussionists, and we have a full big band and multiple combos and a vocal group. And it's super, super fun for me to be in DC, and to remember, I learned so much from this program every time, because you're trying to explain really fundamental concepts, but you're also always, all of us who are there are always learning from each other. And you know how it is just to be around a group of people who are like so excited about playing music together. And now it's like we spent the last two summers online, so now it feels like finally, today was our first day. And so I'm just that's a huge motivation for me, is being able to teach during the summer, because I learned so much from the students, and they all have like completely different musical interests than what I had when I was a teenager, and just are always hipping me to new stuff and talking about things in a different way, and coming from different, different directions of where they're picking things up from is totally different from the way that I learned, but also still really on that same trajectory of working with, I still work with my high school mentor, David Yarbrough, who's mentored so many amazing musicians in
Yeah.
DC, and is himself like just an incredible person. So it's always super motivating to be around and be like, oh yeah, I do need to practice that. Like, I'm telling you to practice that, but I should probably go home and work on that too. And then I'm telling you to practice, practice your sight reading, but like, I really need to push myself on my sight reading lately, because I haven't been sight reading much. And then I'm telling you to practice, all these changes and all these things. And like, but what would be a really cool idea is to do that in every key. And like, I just, so it gives me all these ideas of things to practice, but just by being around people who are learning and really excited about the music.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so true, and such a
Yeah.
sure. So we are running out of time. So to wrap up our little conversation, we'll do a quick little speed round question of some fun questions. So, beach, lake, or pool?
I'm gonna say beach.
Beach. Okay.
Yeah,
Cats or
beach all the
dogs?
time.
Cats or dogs?
Wow. I would have said dogs, but I had a cat recently, so let's go with cat.
Oh my gosh. And what's your favorite summer meal?
I am a big fan of watermelon, like that watermelon feta with the mint,
That's good.
that salad. People be making that. That's good.
That's so good. Okay, favorite holiday?
Favorite holiday? Ooh, Halloween, 100%. I
Okay.
love outfits. I love the enthusiasm.
And finally, would you rather travel back to the past or into the future?
Ooh, oh, I think the future. I'm trying to be optimistic right now, so let's go with the future.
Go with
I
the
feel it. Yeah, we know what the past looks like. Like, there's some cool concerts I'd want to go to, though. Like,
true.
it's hard. It's hard for a jazz musician to answer that question, right? I feel like we're always like, oh yeah, the future, but also like, do I want to see Coltrane at the Vanguard? Like, kinda,
Yeah,
you
true.
know. But also never meet your heroes. So it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Okay, well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Amy, for joining us. If you want to learn more about Amy, head over to her website, amykbormet.com. And if you want to see more of these little videos, tune in each week at 12 p.m. EST every Wednesday throughout the month of July. And you can also follow us on social media platforms at Key of She Jazz. So we'll see you next week for another hashtag Summer Music Motivation. Thanks for watching, and thank you, Amy.